Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're having an amazing day and are just lighting up the whole freaking world with your beauty and radiance. We have a really special guest interview today. Alexa Carlin is on the show, and she is actually a CEO and creator of the Women Empower X series of events, which is a seminar structure where women come together and talk about confidence, courage. There's a bunch of awesome speakers, and this episode is definitely going to leave you very empowered, I will say. So get ready for some really awesome tips by Alexa on speaking, on confidence, on not playing a victim and getting out of that victim mindset. Alexa also she had a near-death experience that radically shifted her life. So that's a really powerful story. She's got an amazing story, very inspiring. So before we dive into that episode or this interview, I have some announcements as we get into the juiciness of Goddess Collective and what we're offering, what we've got going on. But first, I want to read a review by a fellow sister who has just lit up my day when I read this. So thank you so much for everyone that has gone on to Apple Podcasts or anywhere else to leave a review and rating. I greatly appreciate seeing these beautiful comments. It's literally my why and how I decide to show up to this every single week and continue to release this amazing podcast onto the world. So this review is by Rose Carmela. Thank you, love. She says, Nixie is so aligned. Nixie brings to light incredibly important topics in a beautifully easy to digest manner. I've enjoyed this podcast regularly for the last year and continue to love the content as well as Nixie. Well, thank you, Rose. I, first of all, love your name. It's a beautiful name, and I appreciate your review and that you've been enjoying this content and that it's been bringing joy to your life. So thank you so much. And if you haven't yet written a review, if you could head on over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I'm still not used to saying Apple Podcasts. That would be so lovely. It would be so lovely. I'm really passionate about getting the message that we've all created here out and expanding our collective. So that would be super helpful in getting this out. All right. So next thing that we've got going on, just a reminder that we have our online coven. We've got a live full moon ritual coming up this month, as well as inside of that coven online membership, you will get guided meditations and awesome fellow workshop extraordinaires, experts and visionaries who come on each month to chat about everything going on in the astral realms or just anything of the nature of the theme that we have that month. So head on over to iamgoddesscollective.com/membership to sign up and subscribe. It's only $22 a month, which it is going to be going up in the next month. So hurry up and sign up while you can. $22 a month. It is your spiritual gym membership for your soul, your mind, body, and soul. So we have lots of fun in there, and my favorite part is connecting with everybody on the live full moon ritual. So don't forget. And also, you guys, you know that I have a product line, a cleaning product line, and that is a new venture that I have sought out with my beloved partner and co-founder Cameron. And so we have specifically created a discount for all of the Goddess Nation listeners, and so you will receive 30% off the cleaning starter kit. It's a little bit of a different thing. Some of you might be like, what's a starter kit? I've never heard of this before. Well, as you might have seen or haven't, there is this newfound technology, and it's taking the water out of the formula that you ship. Isn't that brilliant? So you don't ship water. We actually ship a concentrate formula, which is basically everything without water. So when you get this starter kit, you just add water to this concentrate formula, and this concentrate actually creates 4 bottles. So it's pretty awesome. I'm all about it. It reduces our carbon footprint, and it's just creating a more mindful option for you to bring sustainability and magic into your home. So head on over to clarity.com/goddess, claryti.com/goddess to get your discount off the starter kit. And let me know what you guys think. I'm so excited about this, and it's definitely been a labor of love. So I'm super excited to hear what you guys think. All right. Well, that pretty much does it for our announcements and reading a review. So let's get into this amazing interview with Alexa Carlin, who is, again, this amazing empowerment goddess who's here to light up our day. Enjoy, sisters. All right. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I'm very excited to bring you guys a badass boss babe in the house. We've got the lovely Alexa Carlin, who is a serial entrepreneur and CEO of a series of events called Women Empower X. So welcome to the show, love.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, just a little background on Alexa for those of you guys that have no idea who she is. I'm excited to introduce her. She is a nationally renowned motivational speaker and has dedicated her life to doing one simple thing: inspiring people to dream big and believe in themselves. She has founded her first company at the age of 17, designing jewelry for an LA-based fashion company under her own label, where she donated a percentage of proceeds to help build schools in Africa. Since then, she has definitely been passionate about making a difference in others' lives through entrepreneurial endeavors. So it sounds like a lot of your projects have pretty much end up leading to this creative one. That's the Women Empowerment Expo, or Women Empower Expo, which was founded in 2016. So obvious why she's here. It sounds like we're going to get into a lot of really inspiring and uplifting content for the day. So tell me, Alexa, I always like to start the show with this question. I'm not sure if you work with crystals, but if you do, is there a specific crystal you're working with today and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I literally have like 2 crystals right by my desk, yes. But this one, the one that I'll say is super important to me, and I have it by my nightstand, so by my bed, which is an amethyst. And citrine is really good too. But the amethyst, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily working with it right now, but I feel like it's always like I just have to have it right there because my mom actually bought it for me after I got out of the hospital, which goes into my backstory. But after this crazy near-death experience, someone told her that it has healing properties. And so she bought it for me, and it's been by my bedside ever since.
Wow. Yeah, I love amethyst. It's one of like the OG crystals. I feel like that it's a good basic to start with, like crystal quartz or anything like that. So that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, perfect.
And then I got the ones right by my desk. I totally forgot what they're called, but one is like for writer's block and the other one's, abundance and money.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think that's, it's like a green, clear. I'm not sure what that is actually either. It's beautiful.
Totally forgot. But
yeah. Well, I think, it sounds like for you've got a couple crystals on your desk. So it's like, it's so obvious that these things are there for us to use and to put intention in and have them help us like through this journey in life. They're just beautiful. Well, beautiful.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Your journey as an entrepreneur started very young. You said around 17, you started your own jewelry line. So it seems that it was really engraved in you to become a empowered women entrepreneur from day one. So how did you really begin on that journey?
So I started my first business after seeing a t-shirt design that I liked while school shopping before senior year of high school. And the design was the symbol of a peace sign, a hand putting up a peace sign, but the palm was the shape of Africa. And I read their mission to build schools in Africa to help these villages become self-sustainable through education. Fell in love with this mission. I have always been someone that, as you mentioned in my bio, someone that's looking to make a difference. And at the time, I really, really was passionate about fashion. So I thought that I can help fund their mission because they were only selling t-shirts and some tote bags. And I emailed all the emails that I could find and never heard back until 4 months later. I got a phone call that the founder wanted to set up a conference call with me, which I don't know if she knew I was only 17 years old, but I sold them on this idea and I became the sole licensee for this big company that was backed by like Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Zac Efron. And at that moment, I saw like what you can do if you just find a way, right? You can turn your ideas into reality. And I fell in love with just the process of having something that I just thought about become a reality. And it took a year until I had the bracelets in my hand. And that led me to like learning how to code my own website, drop shipping and growing this entire company out of my dorm room because then I went to college. And through this experience though, I saw that there was a big thing that was stopping me from getting to that next level, as well as so many other women specifically. Yeah. And that was confidence. So we all go through, especially when we're younger, parts of our life that we don't have as much confidence. And I saw like how imperative that is in order to be successful in business. So I started this blog called Hello Perfect. And the mission was to redefine perfection. So I started asking people their definition of perfect. And I realized like there is not one set definition for the word. Everybody defined it differently. I got definitions from Mark Cuban, Mark Jacobs, Steve Madden, Rebecca Minkoff, Shaquille O'Neal, tons of celebrities, tons of influential leaders in all different fields. And every single person had a different meaning for the word. And I started to gain confidence on this journey, which made me realize that confidence is a skill. And skills can be learned. So because the more I did something, the more confident I became, right? Like repetition breeds confidence, knowledge breeds confidence. So it really got me into this empowered feeling of doing what I love, being confident in that, and then finding a community of support around it. But when I was growing this blog in college, and when I was a few months away from graduating college, I got sick out of nowhere. My body went into septic shock. Bacteria got into my bloodstream, started killing all my organs. I was induced into a medical coma, given a 1% chance of living, and it changed my entire life.
And how old were you?
Completely. I was 21.
Wow.
So I was in a coma for 6 days in the ICU for 10. And during this time, I had so many different visualizations, visions, experiences while in the coma, while in the ICU that really showed me the power of the mind. Wow. I've always believed in like the law of attraction, but this was so much deeper than that. And I mean, it was real. I mean, the things that I experienced were more realistic than the reality I'm living today. So it really taught me a lot. And still to this day, I feel like I'm learning from this experience. And 6 months after I was discharged from the hospital, I moved to New York City, got a job working at InStyle magazine, thought it was everything I wanted, realized it wasn't. And actually ended up getting sick again because all those antibiotics that were pumping in my body for so long destroyed my entire gut system. And I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which anyone that deals with chronic illness of any shape of the form of that word understands that it's very difficult because you're always living in fear. You're always afraid to get sick, or you realize there's no cure for it. So it's something that was very hard. from the age of now I was 22 to 24, I just spent my years in and out of the doctor, in and out of the hospital, trying Eastern, Western, holistic, integrative, every single type, crystals. I wrote a vegan gluten-free cookbook, like everything to try to get healthy. And then through that, I was still that passionate entrepreneur that I always was since I was younger. And I was trying to get through this, but it's really hard to get through it when you have to always deal with it. And I was waiting until I got healthy, waiting until things got better. And what I realized is that I may be waiting forever. And so I had to stop waiting, stop asking why did this happen to me, and make it so it happened for a reason. And that's when I gained this passion for public speaking. Started public speaking through live streaming, social media, because I was too sick to speak in front of others. Then finally, when I was able to speak in front of other people, nobody gave me the opportunity. So I ended up putting on my own events. It was still under my blog's name. And then that grew. And it really introduced me to this need for diverse women to connect and collaborate, which brought the idea for the Woman Empower X, which is what I'm doing today. Which this is a long story, but it's like the very short story of the journey to like give your listeners some context behind everything.
Yeah, what a story. I mean, wow. You know, everybody has their story, and I will say yours is really inspiring, especially just, you know, what came through was like, have you ever heard of a walk-in?
No.
So I sometimes this happens, I guess. I don't even know if it's real, but in the spiritual metaphysical world, they say that these near-death experiences can create like a walk-in where there's another, like one soul replaced itself with another, and it's the same body, but it's an actual different soul, but with a new contract that has like the other contract was complete. So the other soul comes in, and I find it really interesting because I'm like, do you feel like you were like a completely different person coming out of that like experience?
That is so strange. I've never heard of that, because it's strange because some of it makes a lot of sense, like, to be honest. So I don't think I'm a completely different person. I'm still very much who I was when I was younger, but at the same time, I think I received additional things.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So so for example, my mom always thought I was like a new soul because I really didn't know anything. Like I had to be taught everything when I was younger, compared to say my little sister, who just knew these random facts that like a 4-year-old would never know.
Right.
And so my mom always thought like I was this new soul. But then everybody, since I've been on this journey of speaking and really facing the public, everyone always says I'm an old soul, because I speak to a lot of older people, right, women and men.
Yeah.
And they're always like, you know so much for your age. You're such an old soul. So it's interesting because I do think I gained knowledge, and whether that knowledge is through experience or a deeper knowing of whatever may have happened, who's to know? Right. I do believe in a lot of different things that like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. I'm so curious and often fascinated with, you know, when those have had those near-death experiences, what they saw, you know, and the downloads. I think it's just like almost a time for this. It's like we're computers and you're getting this new download of information that maybe you came out, or, you know, whether it be a walk-in or not. But that's really fascinating. And I think, you know, there's another woman I'm thinking of that's a good friend of mine that she also had a near-death experience and very traumatic experience, but she's also voicing confidence and courage. And I feel like to some degree that your experience might have shifted your confidence in realizing like life is limitless. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we all have a purpose, and we have the ability to take the things that we are handed and either take responsibility for our life or to play the victim. And I will completely 100% admit that I was playing a victim for a very long time, an extremely long time, because it's easier. It's much easier.
Yeah.
Even though it's more painful, But yeah, it's way more comfortable. It's way easier to say the world is out to get me, to say that everything happens is bad. I don't know why all these things are happening to me. But I was only 21 when it happened. And I'm like, I can't live the rest of my life like this. So I had to make a change, and realizing that you can view it however you want, but there's always a way to turn any obstacle into an opportunity. And if you piece back like the puzzles of all the different experiences you've gone through, you'll see that every negative thing, every tragedy, every obstacle, every challenge has led to something that you're grateful for today. And you may not see it. It may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. There's no timeline for it, but you have to believe that in order to keep going.
Yeah, definitely agree there. That's beautiful. So what would you say, aside from the breaking through this victim consciousness, what would you say has been some of your most challenging aspects of stepping into your confidence as a woman?
I would say getting out of my own way is very challenging, because stepping into confidence, I mean, there's so many different ways to view that. One, I'll say like working as a young woman in sometimes a male dominated environment will be, hold on one. Sorry about that. So with that, stepping into a male dominated environment, I had to gain the confidence in my knowledge, in my worth, in my value, in my ability to show up, even when people may want to either take advantage of you or see if they can pass things by, and the way that I was able to do that is, again, walking into that meeting that I've been to, round tables where it's all men, walking into that meeting with that confidence. And sometimes you have to fake it till you feel it. Like, really, that's helped so much, because if you show confidence when you're speaking on something, and of course you need to have the knowledge behind it, but when you do that, all of a sudden people start to believe everything that you say. And that's really what you have to do. I mean, I've had it where someone, I was working with a contractor and they try to charge me so much money because I run these giant events at these convention centers and there's so many different logistics. And I remember I got this bill and I knew the industry standard. I knew what my friend, who was a guy, was charged for his event that he did with the same vendor. And I said, this is wrong. Like, this was my first event too. So maybe they thought I didn't have that knowledge, but you have to fake it until you feel it and then back that up with knowledge. But other challenges, just personally stepping into confidence, I think that it really comes down to understanding that confidence is situational. And a lot of times people confuse self-love with confidence. But what I realize is we're confident in all different aspects of our life and our confidence changes. So I may be really confident speaking on stages because I've spoke on over 100 stages in the past couple of years. But if you put me on a volleyball court, I will not be confident at all, but I still love myself on playing volleyball, but I'm not confident. And so I think people confuse that. So understanding, where do you feel confident, and hacking the system. And this took me years to figure out, and I teach it more in depth in some of my speeches, but basically if you can find details of when you feel confident, right? I feel confident when I'm with friends. I feel confident when I'm doing my podcast. I feel confident after I achieve something. I feel confident when I have something to look forward to. When you can figure those details out and apply them to situations in your life where you're not that confident, then all of a sudden you start to hack that confidence system and that confidence expands to more areas. But again, it's really putting yourself in the situation. Action brings clarity. So you can't just think about it. You have to go for it.
I can definitely tell you're confident in speaking. You have some bombs that just keep throwing out there. Like, dang, she's got some, I'm going to like quote her all. You guys are probably getting some really good, empowered content right now. Yeah. Wow. I think that you brought up a sort of a confidence perspective that I've never quite heard, where you're sort of replacing, what I'm hearing you say is really replacing some of the things that we're not confident with the things that we are, and how that can build up confidence in a different area than that which we're not. So that's really interesting. I find that to be really cool. Well, I mean, you touched on something earlier about, when you're speaking and you're giving these talks, and how did you really know that you were going to be, or I'm sure you found this through your journey, but just becoming a public speaker, was that something like an inner knowingness, or did you kind of build up to become this in your life?
So it was, I would say, a mixture of both. I knew that I had to share my story to help others. And maybe that was just what I wanted to believe, because I needed to find a reason why this happened for me. Or else I was driving myself crazy with asking it in that negative way of why did it happen to me? And so I felt like this had to happen so I can inspire others through my story, through my vulnerability, because other people are going to be going through certain things where they can't overcome it, but they still want to inspire people. They still want to achieve their dreams. I realized that I had to share my story when I was through this healing process. I would go to all these different seminars, heal my body through my body, but also my mindset, which is a huge part of it. I would say even more than half of it. And I would see all these inspirational speakers, and they're all great. New York Times bestselling authors, Hay House, like all the good, they're great in their own, niche. But I couldn't relate to so many of them. I'd probably say all of the ones I saw, because at where I was at that moment in my life, they would talk about their past, right? They went through abuse, alcohol, homelessness, or, having no money, no support, whatever it was. They all have an incredible story, of course. That's why they're public speakers. But they talked about it in the past tense. Here's how they overcame it, and here's what you could do to do the same. And I was sitting in the audience, like, that's great, but I can never overcome this. A chronic illness, it could be anything, right? Any mental health, depression, chronic stress, someone that passed away that you can't just get through that feeling. Like, everybody's walking around with something invisible, as I like to call it. I mean, my illness is an invisible illness. And so when I realized this, like, this is something I can't overcome, and I feel like I'm just waiting because you guys are telling me I have to overcome this in order to make it work. That's when I knew I had to share my story to show, look, this is everything I'm going through. I'm still not feeling well some of the days. I still have post-traumatic stress. I still have so much fear and physical pain and all of these things, but I'm still chasing my dreams. I'm still going for it. And so if I could do it, you can too. And it was through that vulnerability that I knew I had that to share that story. And then really how I grew from just speaking for free locally, anywhere and everywhere possible, or through live streams, was all through momentum. I mean, public speaking, the name of the game is momentum. The more you speak, the more people that see you, the more you post it on social, that you have a mic in your hand, the more gigs you'll get. I mean, it's definitely proven to be a momentum game.
That's amazing. I love that you talk about, this overcoming. I think a lot of times people do feel stuck, and I actually can relate to you there with feeling stuck, like they're not going to ever get over something, or, we can even bring in mental issues or mental disorders or anything of that nature, that someone often feels like, no, like I'm going to live with this, and I think it sounds like you've kind of come into a place of acceptance versus like overcoming and getting rid of and like not having that anymore.
Right. And I think I've had, when I have said this before, I've had people tell me, no, you're not supposed to accept the things you don't like. You're supposed to change them. Right. But there's only so much you can do. I do believe we have 100% responsibility for our life, but that does not mean that I am that does not mean that this illness is something that I should be mad at about, like in myself, that I should, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. And if you're always saying like, you know, this is my fault, then how are you going to like stay positive? Right. And acceptance, it doesn't necessarily mean you give in. It means that you're taking control of it. And so I accept everything that I've been through, and I've accepted the illness that I've had to live with and deal with. But with that acceptance brought freedom, and it brought clarity, and it brought, it took my power back in a way. Like instead of giving it away to circumstance, I took it back. And I think that's acceptance shouldn't be viewed as a negative thing, unless it's acceptance in the form of I accepted and I'm giving up. Then of course, no, that's not the message I'm sharing right now. It's you accept it, you take your power back, and now what are you going to do with it?
So powerful. How do you define an empowered woman?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say an empowered woman is someone who is driven to create a positive change. And through that, they support other women and they have that community of support, because I truly believe that when you feel supported, you feel more empowered. So that empowered woman has to have that community of support behind them and do the same for others. I've just seen it in myself. Like my online community was there for me every single morning when I would wake up and do this like motivational show on Periscope back in the Periscope days.
Oh, yeah, I was on Periscope. I remember that.
Yeah. And so I did this morning motivation with Alexa, and there's so many, this is when I was still sick. So there were so many days that I did not feel well, and I was not going to come on live, but my community showed up day after day. And instead of just stopping and waiting, I decided to share vulnerably and be like, hey guys, I'm not that motivated today. And sometimes I would cry, like, you know, on camera. I was very, very fragile at this time, but I didn't want to give up my dreams. And that moment of being so vulnerable, so transparent was the moment that like I would have hundreds of people viewing me live, and people started sharing it. And, it was incredible. And so that community empowered me to keep going. And that's really what my company is all about, WEX. It's all about community. It's all about connection, and real connections, not sharing just what you do, but who you are. Because I felt so alone before I started sharing. And that's really why I share, because when people say, how are you feeling? I could say like, oh, I'm fine. Or I would say, I'm not feeling that well, but people don't understand. But the moment I started sharing more, the less alone I felt going through life.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think authenticity and being vulnerable, and it's something that our society is really craving now. It's like, let's let go of all this fake bullshit that's not real, and chasing after like this false identity or wearing all these masks. It's actually so much more exhausting to do that, I've found, than actually living in your authentic truth and showing up. And people need to know that they're not alone in anything that they're going through. I think that's where social media, a lot of these things, they can be so healing, and also they can be very toxic, because there's two sides of it. Like there is everything, it's really being able to see that you are a human being after all. Like there's not just this false, reality of your social media highlight reel, and I think that that's important. So that's really beautiful.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Well, why do you feel like it's so important for women? I know you kind of addressed it, but for women to really be together today and working in collaboration versus competition.
So, I mean, I always say alone, I can only do so much, but together we can create a much bigger change. And so that's why I think it's so important. I mean, we see so many things that are wrong, especially for women and equality. And if we all are just in it for ourselves, like it's gonna be a long time until we see that change. But we've seen the power in the collective. I mean, with the Me Too movement, the Time's Up movement, and now really what WEX is focused on is that now what portion. So I think for real change to occur, you need two groups of people. You need the ones that step up, share their story of what is wrong in order to create awareness around what needs to be changed for the general public. And then you need the other group of people that are then taking action to change that. And so we're really focused on that second part. And the people that come to WEX are focused on that second part. And that could be just starting a blog. It doesn't matter what it is. But I truly believe that when women connect and collaborate, when we understand that there's enough room for all of us to be successful, we create ripple effects of change in the world, because now more people are doing what they love, more people are aligned with their purpose, and things start shifting one person at a time. And I think there's just so much power in connections. I always say, like, you are just one connection away from transforming your entire life. And we work to create an environment where you can meet that one connection at WEX. But it's true. One handshake, one hug, one decision, one thought process, one idea can change everything.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I can tell that there's that you've done a lot of work. And it's really beautiful.
I have.
Yeah. It shows. Well, I mean, it shows in the sense that you've actually been able to accomplish like a large amount of success, early in your life. Would you say that there's like a secret sauce or any rituals that you perform daily to really support your overall successes?
Definitely. So I don't think there's a secret to success, but there's a strategy, and that strategy can look different for everyone. But one thing that has been imperative to my success is focusing on the things that I do have control over. And I have to remind myself of that every single day. And it's something that I learned while I was in the coma, because I didn't have control over anything. When I woke up out of the coma, I had a mask on my face, a tube down my throat, and hooked up to 9 different bags of antibiotics. So I couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own, but I did have my mind. My mind was completely intact. And I remember using my mind to push this healthy pink color down to the rest of my body to try and heal it. Wow. Because I felt like sepsis, which I didn't know sepsis was what was going on at the time, but what it does, it's killing all your organs. But while I was in that state, I viewed my whole body dying and like black and rotting away. But my mind was this pink, light, healthy part of it, because that's all I had control over. And I would push this pink color down to the rest of my body with every ounce of energy I had. Never read about this, never heard about this. It was just intuitively all I had control over. And things started to shift during that time, because I was still very much in the danger zone. I mean, I told my mom, call your family. She's 24 hours. And so I truly believe in the power of the mind, but also in the sense of achieving what you want. There's so much wasted energy on things we have no control over. Like even for my events, for example, I can't control how many people decide to come out. I could do everything in my power to market it, to pick great speakers, to try to get the passion across, to try to show the impact that people have had by coming out. But at the end of the day, I can't control someone else's decision to pay the $40 to come, right? Mm-hmm. Or to bring a friend. So, but it causes so much stress, like, cause I need, you want people to be there. Or at the same side, like, you can't control if you're going in for an interview. What most people are saying, I hope the interviewer likes me. I hope that I get the job. I wonder what the other applicants are like, but you can't control any of that. All you can control is how much you prepare for it, how you show up, how confident you are, how much knowledge you have about the industry, about the job itself. And so if you could take back the energy that's wasted on that and focus it on your strategy, on your goals, on your to-do list. I mean, I think that's super imperative. And I think that has been such a big part of my success and has sped up a lot, because again, we all have the same amount of hours in the day, but our energy shifts based on like how healthy we are and everything. And I will say, like, I have way I have days that I have way lower energy because of my autoimmune disease. So I had to really learn this quickly in order to achieve as much as I have in the amount of time I've had, because I have days where I just can't perform as much.
On those days, do you give yourself permission to just rest, or do you push through it?
I definitely give myself permission. It's hard because I'm such a go-getter, and I feel, I just am so passionate about what I do. And so I always want to be working on it, but I do give myself permission. I actually posted this picture on my Instagram a couple months ago, actually. I wrote it on Twitter and then I reposted it on Instagram, and it got so much engagement. And it said something how a lot of people say, especially coaches say, millionaires wake up at 5 a.m. And here I was not feeling well this month. And there were many days that I, of course, wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm an early riser. I'm a successful person. I want to be a millionaire, but I didn't feel well and I couldn't. And I allowed myself to sleep in until 8, maybe 9 a.m. And I started to feel so bad about myself for that. Started to feel like, hey, well, I can't be successful because I'm waking up late. And then I was like, no, there's so many millionaires that do wake up at 5 a.m. But guess what? There's a lot of people who are not millionaires that also wake up at 5 a.m. And there's a lot of people who are very successful. And again, success in different ways. Just millionaire is just the example for it. But there's a lot of people that wake up at 9 or 10 who are very wealthy in whatever form that you define that. But it was just so like crazy to me that I was hurting my own self by thinking this way. And so that's how I give myself permission. I kind of just shift my thought process and beliefs around it.
Yeah. And I think too, not to separate genders, but I do think that this is why women stepping up into leadership is so imperative, because, there's no rule book to success, really, and women, we have this intuitive nature like you did to heal your body. And so do men. They're so intuitive as well. But I think there's been that masculine energy that has been dominating this successful world and, millionaire mindsets and what have you. But I think as women, like we are allowed to and recognize that we have different emotional driving forces. We have hormonal, issues or whatnot. We've got all these things. And I think that the more that we tap into our grace and our embodiment of who we are as a woman in a female body, or the feminine way, I think that it's going to create a new foundation for what success looks like. And that's just my opinion, but
I agree. Yes.
Yeah, so, wow. Well, you are such a great, interviewee. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. What would you say to women who are tuning in that might actually fear, as we're on this topic of success, like fear large amount of success, and that's what's maybe preventing them from receiving that?
I would say that you're worthy. It's possible. You can have it all. I think I've struggled with that before. I say I want it, and then there's some type of fear that comes with that because it's new, it's growth, and that's okay. I mean, I don't like the whole movement around be fearless, be that fearless leader. I think that when you have fear, that means it's meaningful to you. And if it's meaningful to you, that means you care and you're going to put your heart into it. And that makes all the difference. And so, we all know courage is doing it in spite of the fear. And I really focus on that word courage and understanding that, success, it's okay to be scared of it. Just don't let that fear control you, right? Fear is inevitable, but listening to that fear is a choice. And you're truly worthy of having it all: a family, love, downtime, freedom, wealth, success, and being okay with where you are now, but also okay with that growth.
Yeah. What would you say is the driving force of your ambition and your motivation?
That's a good question. People always ask me that. And I don't like saying this because, it's so innate. I've always had this feeling, like I was meant to do something great. Again, I don't like saying that because it's not really helpful, but, the driving force is really, I mean, it's been joy and it's always joy. I think the meaning of life is joy. Happiness is a state, right? You can feel happy at one moment, sad the next, but I think that you can be sad and still be joyful. And so my dreams, my passion, everything that I'm working on brings me so much endless joy. Again, there's hard days. There's days that I'm so stressed out. There's days that I feel sad. There's days that I'm like, what the heck? Why am I doing all this? Why am I making it so hard on myself? But I would not feel any type of fulfillment. I would feel so much worse not doing it. Like I even see that, like, again, notice kind of signs about your own character. But during the summer, like since I've been out of school and, into the real world, and summer for me has never been a time that I look forward to. I do love summer vacations, don't get me wrong, but I like when people are more in tune with, like, not so much the hustle lifestyle, but just chasing after your dreams and going for it and getting things done. That just brings me joy. That for me personally. So when it's like more laid back and I feel like, okay, now I'm time for like a break, it doesn't bring me as much happiness or joy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You must be a fire sign. What's your sun sign?
My sun sign? I don't really know my signs too much. I mean, I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, you're a Gemini. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're not a fire sign. You've got some fire in you for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I believe it is near time for us to wrap this up. I'm so inspired, and I feel like everybody listening is like probably lit from this podcast. What I know, you've got a couple events coming up, and I would love for you to share when those are, where they are. Some of our sisters here are in that area who could potentially attend.
Definitely. So the Woman in Power X is headed to Raleigh. We'll be there October 12th at the Raleigh Convention Center. This is our first year in Raleigh, North Carolina, so we're really excited. It's an all-day event, and it will have like 30 plus speakers, 50 or so businesses in our marketplace, a pitch competition, networking. It's just, again, an amazing environment filled with so much impactful energy to make those connections that you need to get to that next level in your personal and professional life. And then we'll be back at Fort Lauderdale in the Convention Center November 9th, and that will be our 4th year there. So right now we've hosted it for the past 4 years in Fort Lauderdale, Washington, D.C., Raleigh in October is our first year in Raleigh. And next February 2020, we'll be in Los Angeles at the Convention Center.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for that. I'm definitely not going to miss that one.
Yes.
Well, where else can everybody find you in the online world?
Yeah, all over social media. I am Alexa Rose Carlin. And Instagram is my main platform of choice. Also do some vlogs on YouTube, and I post this live show every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram. So just connect with me, Alexa Rose Carlin.
Amazing. All right. Well, wrapping up the show, I always love to ask this question. How do you invoke your inner goddess?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I know sometimes it leaves people like, ooh, okay, well, we're going there.
I evoke my inner goddess when I remember and tune into my source of light. Because that light, for so many years, I was looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, until I realized that the light was within me all along. And so anytime I need to bring out that goddess, which is probably daily, I tune back into that light within.
Wow. Mic drop. That was beautiful. You've almost brought me to tears now twice in this whole interview. So you are so inspiring. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your inner light. It definitely shines through, and I know everybody's going to feel so excited to connect with you and see more about your work. Thank you so much again for coming on, and I love you, sisters. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, loves. I love you so much. I see you. I hear you. Bye for now. I'll see you next week. Well, now seems like a very perfect time to share with you guys my favorite app of all time called Yoga Wake Up. You know that I'm huge on morning rituals and getting your day started on the right side of the bed. So this is how I begin my day in Slay. I wake up to an amazing yoga practice or meditation, and it really creates and sets the tone of the rest of my day. So this is the app called Yoga Wake Up, and it is an app that replaces your annoying beeping alarm clock with, again, like I said, yoga and meditation. I literally cannot recommend this app enough. It is literally a game changer, and I've truly been able to transform my life by starting my day with mindfulness and intention. So head on over to bit.ly/goddess yoga wake up to get 25% off your entire year's worth of subscription. And again, that's bit.ly/goddess yoga wake up to receive 25% off a yearly subscription. Wake up and slay.